So this is a story about how money influences corporate news and why people turn to YouTube over corporate news, and YouTube smashes us and suppresses us and points you towards the Pfizer-sponsored news. So COVID, children's extremely low risk confirmed by study. The overall risk of children becoming severely ill or dying from COVID is extremely low. A new analysis, so low as it can't even be measured. That's how low their risk is. Here's from the New York Times. An unvaccinated child is at less risk of serious COVID illness than a vaccinated 70-year-old. And so you know who sponsors the news, right?
By Pfizer.
CBS Health Watch sponsored by Pfizer.
Anderson Cooper 360. Brought to you by Pfizer.
ABC News Nightline. Brought to you by Pfizer. Making a difference. Brought to you by Pfizer.
CNN Tonight. Brought to you by Pfizer. Early Start. Brought to you by Pfizer. Friday night on Aaron Burnett Out Front. Brought to you by Pfizer.
This Week with George Stephanopoulos is brought to you by Pfizer.
This weather report brought to you by Pfizer.
Today's countdown to the royal wedding is brought to you by Pfizer.
And now a CBS Sports Update brought to you by Pfizer.
Meet the Press Data Download brought to you by Pfizer.
This portion of CBS This Morning sponsored by Pfizer.
On how to find the hidden sugars in the American family diet. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Okay. So what is the result of all that money being spent on news outlets? Here's how they're going to report vaccines being approved for children. Watch this. Now, you already know children are in almost zero risk from serious illness from COVID. Listen to this.
Let's bring in NBC senior medical correspondent, Dr. John Torres. Dr. Torres, good morning to you. As Kathy mentioned, that new poll finds about 2/3 of parents are hesitant to get their kids the shot. What is your advice to alleviate some of their concerns?
And Joe, you're right. There is that hesitancy to get the shot, and it's a hesitancy that parents typically have because they're very protective of their child. A couple of things I tell them is, one, from a community perspective, children right now are 25% of the cases that are out there. That's from a community perspective, but parents are more worried about their own child. So here are some numbers for their child. Last week, 118,000 children ended up with Pfizer. Since the pandemic, over 8,000 have been hospitalized, a third of those in the ICU, and unfortunately, there have been 146,000 deaths, which according to the American Academy of Pediatrics, puts COVID now in the top 10 causes of death for children.
Now, I have no idea where first of all, Dr. Torres, who looks like he's ready to do a hunting commercial. That's what he looks like. But I don't know where this guy's getting his information. But it's wrong. How bad is COVID-19 in kids? See the latest data. So here's the latest data. Of the 73 million children in the United States, fewer than 700 have died of COVID. He said 146,000, didn't he? Didn't he just say 100? Yeah. He said 146,000.
Yes.
So why would they be lying like that? Why would they, whenever they make an error, it's always in the wrong way. It's always in the same direction. It's always in the pro-Pfizer direction. Isn't that interesting? Because they're here to keep you afraid, scared to death, so you get your kids vaccinated, and kids have almost zero risk of illness from COVID. But that guy, if you listen to this guy on NBC, he's going to make you think that there's a big risk to your kids, when the exact opposite is the case.